Hi, I'm Michael Nadler from Market Lead, and today's the second part of the interviews and conversations with Cory Lindholm. Now, I hope you watched the last one because that one was great. It was a great insight towards what's happening in Google Ads at the moment and PMax. Now, today's video is a bit different, but I'm not going to tell you what's in it. You're going to have to watch it. So I'll keep this short. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Also check out Cory's work. I'll put his link below to all his amazing posts on LinkedIn. Let's jump in.
But let's jump into the next part, which is I had a chat with Ed Leake the other day. So I recently joined Forge, and it is outstanding. Just firstly, the content and also the ability to contact with someone who's been doing this for over 12 years, who's extremely knowledgeable and still is in the weeds, but also runs an agency, but also knows the technical. And something we were chatting about the other day that I did a video on, or we did a video together, was like the future of advertising. Now, I want to ask your opinion on the future of advertising, but first, I recently noticed that in Google Analytics, back in the day, and we've chatted about this before, they've had data available about search terms that wouldn't show in Google Ads, so you could actually do a comparison report to see what the search terms, not keywords, search terms were in Google Ads compared to what Analytics was showing. And usually Analytics would show a bunch more search terms because there was just some sort of like flow and effect. So they didn't really filter it. But recently, I'm noticing that most of the accounts have not set in Google Analytics. Do you use that data much? And have you noticed that as well?
Yep. It's funny you say that. Yeah, because I just saw that. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and, because his was 60% search terms that have converted are like other. In other words, I'm not going to show you. So I was like, all right, let's take a look at Google Analytics, see if there's any discrepancy, like see if we can uncover those ones that converted. And it was just not set. And I was like, oh no. So I'm like, well, either your tracking was not set up correctly, like the auto tag, maybe there's a UTM manual override that's happening, maybe there's a settings problem. I could not find any problems with that. So I don't know if that's kind of what you're alluding to. Maybe we're going down this road of, we figured that Google figured that out and now they're going to just kind of get rid of that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I've seen that as well, unfortunately. But yeah, it is a good, while we still have it in some cases, use it because it's a great way to find additional queries.
Well, I've shown you that that tool I built, which literally pulled in all the clients' search term data from Google Ads, all their data from Google Analytics, and then it filtered out the ones that are already in Google Ads. So it only showed which are the variance ones or which ones are the difference. And from there, I could, and most importantly, especially for big clients with high cost per clicks, one, I could identify negative keywords that need to be added, so like words or phrases. And then secondly, I could find like new search terms that would actually be new keywords to add. And there were multiple times, especially for like finance and enterprise clients with really high cost per clicks ranging from $25 to $150, where I could find something, especially on the negative keyword side, that was valuable. But that's been taken away now. So when I've been trying to do this on nearly all of my clients, there's only about 1 or 2 clients that still have this data available. But I've literally just like, I'm not using that report anymore, that tool I've built, and I've had to rebuild it in a different way. But I think that's a bit of a worry that we're losing like a secondary source of search term data. I'm starting to think, and then Google Ads is obviously over time reducing that. Do you think we're going to get to a point where we're not going to be able to see search term data, especially now that we're being forced or moved towards broad match keywords, which are more broad, which we need more control and cleanliness and purity around the data? Do you think we're going to lose that as much, or we'll keep losing slowly more and more access due to privacy restrictions?
I do think that it's going to be more difficult to get granular data, even though we're paying for it. It just seems like it should be our data, quote unquote. Yeah. But I do estimate that even with search campaigns, it's eventually going to be what you're seeing in PMax and the Insights tab. It's going to be search categories and less data about specific search terms as a whole. So when you want to do an n-gram analysis with your, Google Scripts or something, you might not be able to do that anymore. Hopefully, external software will be able to pull that n-gram data out if Scripts can't do it. But again, if the API is not open, I guess they couldn't do it either. But my thought is, it's probably going to move in the direction of like they're already doing. It's going to be search categories with sort of like generic groupings of search terms and themes, and then just limited amount of metrics about those search terms, which I think is really unfortunate. I imagine that'll happen for more of the newer campaign types that Google rolls out, maybe less so for more legacy campaign types like standard shopping, especially for those brands where brand protection is super important and they're high spenders with Google. Google doesn't want to piss those people off. So I imagine it's not going to go over, like it's not going to go away right away, but I do think we're transitioning into that phase where it's, you get maybe more insights that are more generic, and they're technically more insights, but they're a little bit more generic and harder to use from a practical standpoint, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that kind of will move to the point where it really does come down to the pages you're sending your traffic to. You do really want to make them keyword rich, really, with the terms you want. Like, whilst you'll still get irrelevant traffic, you do want there to be some sort of relevancy or qualification that when people get to the page, or Google's scraping a page or using DSA or like PMax DSA, whatever it is, or even just like how the quality scores work, you just want to make sure that's really strong now. You just can't be sending it to any page with heaps of random keywords. I think it's one of those things that Google Ads used to be like a sniper channel. Like, you could just have the gun and you could kill anything and it'd be fine. But now, like, it's more of a, you need like a team, like you need like good SEO, good landing page, good analytics, good data, good holistic tracking as well, not just relying on the individual, just the G tag and the just analytics anymore. Like, it is coming back to a more holistic place. It almost seems like it's going back to what marketing would have been back in yesteryear before data was available. Like, I feel like we've gone from nothing to like not abusing it, but like it being like overused, and it's coming back to the now, because it's purely just privacy. That's the only reason why, where it's come back to the point where we need to start getting more creative in terms of not being so reliant on data. We've built our careers on that, and then we've built that, but like everyone's got to start moving towards, okay, going back to the human, not back to the data, because, you know, the data's not going to be there. It's going to be cohorted. It's going to be modeled. It's not going to be real anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is a bigger reason to like Microsoft right now, Microsoft ads, if you're not doing it, especially on the non-branded side of things. I know a lot of companies just sort of run it on autopilot. A lot of agencies just run those accounts on autopilot. They don't want to like dabble into shopping or kind of trust it with anything other than like branded search and maybe some light shopping or like some remarketing or something like that. But that's another reason to dabble in a little bit more than just Google Ads, because you can get, Microsoft still gives you tons and tons of search term data, like the ugly stuff, like the misspellings, the 100-word searches, like that's still there. So while it's there, grab it, because Microsoft generally follows suite with what Google does. So you don't want to lose that. And I would also just add, this is one of the reasons that it's so manual, because Google doesn't make it easy for us to do this, but take screenshots, copy paste, whatever works for you on that insights tab, because Google tends to like give you data like insights and then maybe take those features away. Grab that information. Like in some of my accounts, every 28 days, because that's all it gives us is 28 days, grab all that stuff, like the auction insights information, the like the search category shifts, like any of the like the share of conversions, like take that stuff out, because there's no way to download it in the platform. So you've got to do it very manually. So it's not a great way like system for it, but it's the only way that I know, because that way you can have something to fall back on as that stuff gets pulled away. You have some historical data to fall back on. So anyway, I just want to throw that in too.
No, that's really good, because it's these like little hacks that you and I have to discover to get the edge, because there's no tools or softwares that are doing this yet. And that by the time, even if they do it, where there's very few companies that would actually build and execute it, even when it is done, it's like, it's going to be out of date. Like, you know, a lot of the reporting tools that have been used for yesteryear were just like cost per click, spend, budget, impression share, just the top ads. But then everything's changing now. And then you've got even like good optimization tools like Ad Evolve or Optimizer, where they do things. But even with these new changes, a lot of the things that those APIs are probably leveraging are probably becoming redundant now. Or the really crucial granular detail that you and I probably tend to do manually, they've built out these like huge scripts to do. But then now that data is not available anymore. So it's like literally, even though Fred Valley's literally wrote a book called Unleveling the Playing Field, it's probably unleveling his company as well, because the things that like, because PMax is changing a lot. The data transparency and the like access to it is quite limited. Like, I don't know, like in terms of API side, but when I use like Supermetric or Data Slayer, I can get barely any data from PMax, so like, or granular data. So I don't see how any tool is going to get even beneath that and give more hidden insights more than just like what human strategy will. Because
Yep.
the hidden advantage now is not technology, it's actually the person executing it and the strategy behind it and the creativity around the strategy. Not creative as in like the images or the text, but like how you and I would do it, like how we do it similar or how we do it different. But at the end of the day, the only thing now that's important is what gets results. It's not like, oh, Soulate says this, Cora says this, Michael says this. It's like, what works? It doesn't matter who's right. It's like what works, because some things work for some businesses some of the
Right.
times. They don't work for all businesses. And even if
Right.
you've been using one PMax thing for one campaign, it might not work for another promo or offer you've got if you change the copy. And it's like, it's wild. But the only person who's winning is Google with ad spend.
Yeah. 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 And I want to throw out there, man, like, let's not lose the experimental mindset, right? Like, because that's what I get a lot. I hear this, I should say, sometimes in these consulting calls where it's like, what should I do? And I need this to work. And it's like, well, that's losing that experimental mindset. We cannot approach advertising or marketing in general with like, I only want to do this if it's going to work. That would be amazing, because like I'd be like working at the stock exchange if I could predict things like that. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. Sorry guys to break it to you, but it's going to have to be, well, let's get your information about your brand, where the market is, where your opportunities are, how we can fit you into that, how we can overcome certain challenges, blah, blah, blah. And then say, what's the best first test to implement? We cannot get away from that, because that's how Google Ads has been. But now PMax has been sort of oversold to us as like this magic formula algorithm that's just going to do it all for you. And it's really low hanging fruit. But let's not get away from the idea that we're going to try things. We're going to, like, hopefully you're working with an expert or you've educated yourself enough to give it a first good go and then understand that it may not work. And that's okay. Like, the whole idea is to like give it some time, see if it works. If it doesn't, be open to that. Now we got to try a different strategy. So I don't know. I just don't want us to get away from an experimental mindset, because truly it's still working with data. These algorithms need to feel confident about making the decisions they're going to make as to who to go after with your advertising. So we need to be open-minded about that still. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, mate. Well, this is probably another wonderful segment that we can wrap up now. So thank you again, mate. But we'll jump into another one in a quick second. Now, you know what time it is. I'll keep this short. Like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with the latest and greatest Google Ads and paid ad news. And lastly, it's your time to be number one. So Market Lead is now taking on new clients. So if you're serious about increasing sales, increasing customers, and more importantly, scaling your business, book in a strategy session with someone in my team and you'll get a free action plan. Just go to marketlead.com.au, go to the strategy session link, and then book it in there. So remember, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll keep this short. Enjoy.